some of these people.
I've noticed I have now been to at least a little bit Pride in Seattle, and I've been to Comic-Con in Seattle. And the demographic overlap between the two of those, where like the same problem children show up to both of those events, and you're like, balding ponytail, smelly weirdo. Are you just an event staple?
Yeah. So the series of events was like, man, the guy in front of me like really needed to shower. Like I'm thinking this in my head. The guy in front of me needed to shower, and then I look at him, and it's like, oh, he's got the bald spot, man. You know, there's so many better hairstyles you can do than greasy ponytail. I look down because glimmering in the sunlight is a trombone. and he was repping some Pride stuff, so I was like, okay, you know, maybe he's gonna be in the parade or something, I don't know. And then I see in the same arm, so he's got the trombone in hand, and under the arm, like right by his armpit, is a furry helmet, one of those mascot costume helmets.
Yeah.
And I have absolutely no problem with furries, but it's like, okay, I don't know, like, are you ashamed of your trombone to hide your face? Why, like...
If he smells bad and it's 80 degrees that day and he's putting on more layers, you gotta clear the area.
And then there was two of them. I look over...
and that's when you immediately tore off your Pride pin. You put that little blue flag on there.
Oh my God, I was wearing my NB sweater that day, and I regretted so much.
NB?
Non-binary.
Oh. ONB.
Yeah. Oh God, I regretted it so much. We were going through that Uniqlo
I was wearing my Ghostface hoodie and I was fucking dying.
It was awful.
Ghostface is my Pride character. The gays love that movie.
I mean, when you see Matthew Lillard with like an earring.
I love that movie.
I love Matthew Lillard.
Me too. You like him because of that. Does he still do those Dungeons and Dragons shows? I
got to double check that. I know I know they were all produced for at least one season each, but I got to double check that.
You were his greatest warrior.
I was his greatest warrior. I was doing free marketing for his Dungeons and Dragons.
How are you not aware?
I don't know. But I mean, like he does other like he's great with like, there's a lot of, you know, people after a certain number of years in celebridom who don't handle like fans well. He handles fans really well. You know, he's still like, people love his Scooby-Doo shit, and a lot of people are like, if you get shoehorned or, you know, pigeonholed as like one thing in your career, you start like fighting against that. Now he loves like Shaggy, and he loves all this nerd shit, and it's one of those things where like the more interviews I see of him where he talks about like, yeah, so me and like my best friend for 30 years, like we started a wine and beer company just for our nerdy like D&D things.
You were mentioning, hey, now you can try that now that you drink a little. We'll pick some up. We'll do some social drinking.
Hell yeah.
Maybe we'll do some D&D. Dungeons and drinking.
Dungeons and drinking. There's no dragon. It's just you wander the empty corridors and there's no...
Dragging my feet through this fucking role playing. That was another overlap, actually. Comic-Con and Pride was Dungeons and Dragons shirts and merchandise.
I love D&D. Well, it also helps that WotC, the company that makes it, is based out of like Renton.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I just found it funny because... from the outside in, I've been able to sort of Jane Goodall the D&D split, and that there's the like old school loser dudes, and then the new school of like LGBT acceptance. And like the loser dudes want to do their Conan the Barbarian fantasy and save a woman, but also she doesn't speak or have opinions. And the new school want to be women. And so then they overlap and they just like clash with each other. But it's just like, it's just funny that D&D was like, no, the second we could get rid of these weird losers, like, what are you guys? You're just gay? Sure, we're making games for you now.
I mean, both sides of those arguments are like, when can we get rid of these guys? You know, both sides, like the Alphabet Mafia is just like, oh, this old, don't worry, the old guard is dying off soon. Conan, the dude who's going to be DMing for my group next, we all take turns DMing. Conan is like his favorite comic.
Really?
He loves Conan the Barbarian, which is like, that was his gateway into fantasy, into like Lord of the Rings.
Conan's kind of fucking sick.
Conan is really fucking cool. I love a dude who's just like, I don't trust wizards, and punches any magic user he finds.
I'm so glad that old men nerds have lost another bastion of like another. I'm so sick of them. They're so annoying. The reason I stopped reading comic books is because I hated walking into comic book stores.
Oh yeah, like especially when you get anybody over the age of 40.
Yes,
that owns a comic book store.
And they're just like one time I was in a comic book store for free comic book day, and this old woman comes in and she goes, "Do you have Archie?" And they did have a free comic because you know how they lay out like all their free comic books and you can kind of take a couple. I don't know if you've ever done a free comic book day.
Absolutely. You know what a comic book is? You know when they're free? There's one day a year.
But yeah, so and she was like, "Do you have any other? Have you been watching that Riverdale show?" This was like when Riverdale was kind of recent or like only in its first 2 or 3 seasons.
Okay, so like 2015,
somewhere around there. And the dude behind the counter to this old woman who's just excited to grab Archie comics and talking about how much she loves Riverdale says, "Actually, Archie is my least favorite comic book character of all time." And I see this woman deflate in real time and go like, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't know much about comics." And she left. Like, even if that's true, why are you being 100% on? This woman just wants to make a connection across generations and across demographics. You could have a customer there who comes to you for fucking Archie comics. The point of free comic book day is to rope her in, which is happening. And instead you have to like comic book elitist her. And now she'll never shop there again.
What a fucking asshole.
Yeah. And then like another time I'm in that same comic book store, there's 2 dudes playing Warhammer, and one dude, they're deciding who goes first, and they're like, "We got a coin," and he goes, "Call it," and the other dude goes, "What?" He says, "Call it," and he's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Heads or tails, we'll decide who goes first." He goes, "Who says call it?" And he's like, "Have you ever seen like the start of a football game? They call it." And he goes, "I highly doubt anyone in this building watches football." And I'm like,
gross.
Oh my God. Like, I don't care if you do or don't watch sports. This isn't what it's about. But it's these people who just like isolate themselves in whatever the one thing they like is, and then they look down on everyone else who does anything differently. I'm just like, I hate you people.
Yeah, there's this like elitist, like gatekeepery mentality of, since I've invested myself, I've engrossed myself in this culture for X number of years. You know, like I got into D&D when 5th edition came out. The current version, it's actually going to be like outdated by this year. They're coming out with a new rule set, but it's going to be somewhat compatible with the current one for like a smoother transition or something. I don't know. But like, so that was 2014. And I remember like getting into it, just some fucking quick background. 4th edition D&D was bad, so people were still playing 3.5 like revised 3rd edition, because 4th edition they tried to do some like chunky rules things to be like, we're gonna get the video game audience in, and that just didn't translate. So it was a bad rule set that didn't last very long. So people were still playing 3.5, and just the number of people in my life like older than me who were like 5th edition, like, no, I'm not gonna, like, that's lame. There's only one dude who the pattern of overlap. There's one dude in my life that liked D&D and wasn't being elitist about the new 5th edition. He gave me, it's at my parents' place, I think. He gave me like a bag of like pewter minis. He was like, when I played D&D, these are what I use. Like, I'm bequeathing these to you. So I have like a bag of these like really nice metal like pewter minis. I got to go find. But it's incredible the lengths people will go to not make friends.
The one time I played 40K, I was 14.
Oh, you told me this.
And this dude was like, "Oh yeah," he's like 20 something out of the Navy, and he's like, "I'll teach you." So I show up, and he's like, "Which ones do you like?" And he had an army for me, and he just beat my ass. He just blew up all my shit. I didn't get to do anything. I just remember wondering when I would get to do something and walking my guys into a house, and then they died. Walking my guys upstairs, and then the house died, or something like that. Like, and I was like, all right, cool. How much does this cost? $150 per figurine. Oh, okay, never mind.
No, I didn't have any fun, let alone enough to invest.
I'm poor. I'm going to go play. I'm 14. We don't have money. I can afford a $4 Pokemon pack.
I'm going to go move this TV out of a ditch so I can lay in it. Don't worry, I know my demographic.
I moved a TV out of a ditch.
Yes, that was for
Okay,
you.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was coincidence.
No, I was specifically referencing.
I used that TV to play Borderlands LAN Link with my friend so we could do 3-player.
God, I love Borderlands.
I know. Speaking of video game movies, this week, Gran Turismo.
We did an intro, right?
Probably.
Decades ago.
Welcome to KAFM. If we haven't done an intro, we're doing it late. If we've already done an intro, we're doing it twice. But that's how we roll here at KAFM, slippery and inconsistent. I'm John, and I've woken up because I've been drinking water this entire fucking time so I could actually be alive for this. And this is...
Duncan, and I've not had water in 2 days.
2 days.
2 days.
Well, I'm not going to share because otherwise my headache might come back.
That's what the ibuprofen is for.
I don't trust pills. You know what they're putting in there? Estrogen. It's only because I take estrogen pills.
Oh no, my seizure medication gave me big naturals.
Is your brain okay? I'm in and out, but boy, do they love it when I shake them things.
I'm Duncan. I can't remember if that was established.
You said you're Duncan and
Did
you don't
I?
drink water.
Oh yeah. I might not be
Speaking
okay.
of water, can you put this under that little faucet and fill this up for me?
Wall water. It's wall water time. Talk about what's going on while I'm getting wall water.
All right. So we watched 2 movies this week for a little our program we like to call Double Feature, which is when we pick 2 movies that we can connect for any way. And sometimes it's a little clear, sometimes it's really stupid. This week is Gran Turismo and Gran Torino, which we connected because they sound similar when I say them.
It also helps that one Gran Turismo meme actually fits pretty well
That's true.
into the format of how we watch this, from gamer to racist.
If you guys aren't aware, there was a photoshopped poster that instead of said from gamer to racer, it said from gamer to racist, that made it onto the Roku app somehow.
Made it onto the Roku app. I saw it for real.
Of the official poster instead was the joke. I don't know how. It must have just ripped it off like top results on Google.
We talked about that. Like, there's so many people when it comes to key art for a film. There's so many people that has to go through, not just, the person who made it, to the marketing person, to the social media people who put it up. There's so many people involved when it comes to key art, because that's like front line for your advertising. People are going to see posters before even, trailers. People's just going to see a picture of your movie. So the fact that slipped through so many cracks, the only thing I can figure is whoever was at the very end of that line just had it ready. It was just like, I'm going down.
It was an inside job.
It was an inside job, 100%.
Okay.
I don't think it was, because this was based on a property from PlayStation. Sony, Gran Turismo is Sony's premier racing sim.
So Microsoft has Forza and PlayStation has Gran Turismo?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's it's been one of their more premier kind of look what our machine can do. Since PlayStation 1, I think. It's been around for decades. So I doubt they were skimping on the marketing for this movie.
So I remember that trailer played 1,000 times in the theater. And then they did a mystery, Regal and AMC, and I think Cinemark does it now too, these mystery movies that are like $5 tickets, and you see a movie in advance, you don't know what it is.
Okay. And
it'll just be like on a Monday or something. That's how I saw The Bike Riders like 2 weeks early recently and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I knew Gran Turismo was one of them, and it got really positive reactions, and it sort of built a groundswell. So the movie did decently in theaters. The most interesting twist as far as just like production is that the director is Neil Blomkamp.
That I paused the movie when I saw that, because I just wanted to make sure I was spelling his name correctly. I think I texted you about it.
I'm probably.
Like, oh my God, it's District 9.
Yeah, and nothing else.
I was waiting for, hey, Chappie! the whole movie, and it didn't even have who was the guy calling the fights in Monkey Man?
Oh, you know his name better than I do.
And I'm blanking on it now, but he was in Monkey Man. He was in Boy Kills World that we did on KFM. But like he's been, I think, in every one of Neil's movies except that one.
He was busy. He was like, I'm okay. What's interesting is this movie does have real names. Orlando Bloom is a real, even if he's sort of past his height, he's a real actor.
He's too busy putting babies in Katy Perry.
Is he married to Katy Perry?
And they have a kid.
Just one?
Just one, as far as I know.
So he's not putting that many in her.
Well, she's probably this was like last year that they had a kid. So.
If I was married to Orlando Bloom, I'd be putting babies in him 24/7.
But yeah, it's got David Harbour,
who is kind of at his height. Like this is Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, and then he was in like one of the last good MCU movies, and he was in Black Widow.
Is that good?
I liked it.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
My only gripe is how they did the villain in that movie, and no, not because they made her a woman. Before anybody comes after me, it's not that they made the male villain a woman. I just didn't like how the character didn't have any autonomy.
Who's the villain?
Taskmaster.
They made Taskmaster a woman?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't like that.
I don't care about that, but they basically made Taskmaster this like sleeper agent that only reacts when told to. Like,
okay. Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah,
I don't actually care if it's a woman, but
Taskmaster, kill Taskmaster, dude.
Does she have her powers where she can mimic anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, the suit doesn't look bad.
Does she have the skull and the cloak? And the
not
sword?
the cloak, not
and
the
the
cloak.
shield and the bow and arrow?
Bow and arrow, yes. Shield, yes. Don't remember sword. Skull mask, yes. But people were like, it looks kind of like a biker helmet. It had the skull face.
I'm gonna look this up later.
Yeah, no, it just didn't have the hood, which was kind of a shame.
But she just has like a perfect brain. She's got like a photogenic memory.
Yes, but you wouldn't know it because I think she has maybe 3 lines in the whole movie.
Oh, okay.
Because again, it's like you only do things when I tell you to. I mean, the message of the movie was super like anti-patriarch. Like the villain telling Taskmaster to do all these things was like the guy who started the Widow program.
Okay.
So like lots of baggage for Black Widow and stuff. Again, I really liked it, but he played Red Star, I think. He played like an old Soviet superhero. Like Soviet Captain America was kind of his thing. He's just like, back in the 70s and 80s, I was our poster boy, and then they dropped me. So he played like a really fun kind of...
David Harbour did.
Yeah,
Okay.
David Harbour played like a really fun, washed out Soviet superhero. But he was also like Hellboy, and I liked that Hellboy movie.
I didn't see it, but I heard nothing good.
It's more accurate to the comics than like the
GDT ones.
Yeah, but the GDT ones have fucking sauce.
Yeah. Do you know the new one's coming out this year?
A new
Hellboy movie.
with David Harbour again?
No,
Like just another new one?
Different actor, different, but they dropped a trailer for it. It's like,
Huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not like announced. It's filmed, and they're like, it's out in 3 months or something. I think it's out in like November or something.
Oh my god, I have something to get excited. I love Hellboy.
You've talked about it.
I need to play. There's a game that came out like late last year that I snatched up, and I have not gotten around to playing it yet. But it has Lance Reddick as Hellboy.
Hell yeah! Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
So, speaking of video games, how much Gran Turismo have you played?
Absolutely nothing.
How much do you plan to play now that you've seen this movie?
Honestly, I might try one of the new ones on PlayStation.
So it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I make no bones about it. I love PlayStation. Like, that's just the system I grew up on, and I still play games now as an adult. So, like, honestly, there's probably one available to me on PlayStation Plus, their, like, subscription program.
What did you think of this movie?
I thought the CGI they used was actually really fucking cool. When it did, like, when he was, like, sitting down playing the game, and then it had, like, the skeleton of the car show up.
I thought that was dumb as shit.
You thought that was dumb as shit?
I was like, oh, shut the fuck up.
I like when they were doing the chase, and it was, like, the camera above the car. Like a
game?
Yeah, like a game.
So, did you enjoy the movie?
Yes.
Okay. Because my opinion...
I went in thinking this would be, like, maybe a 4 out of 10, and it was 6 or 7 out of 10. Like, it was
7 out of 10. Wow.
If like the acting wasn't there, or if the CGI had looked worse, like there's so many things where like it could have slipped up and that would have lowered my rating, but everything was like slightly above my expectation, which was enough for me to say, like, yeah, I had a good time.
I thought this was a really well-funded advertisement.
Yes.
But I didn't think it was a movie.
Really?
There's nothing here to make it a movie.
But it's based on true events.
Sure. But it's like, so the plot is exactly what you think it is. There's a dude who plays a video game that's for racing cars. Well, first of all, actually, the movie opens with 25 years ago, this man who works for PlayStation invented the perfect racing simulator of all time.
Then why are there like 7 of them? I thought he made the first one perfect.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, that's their little ad roll. But then it's literally just all, like, if I cut this movie into 90 seconds, you would think it was a Christmas ad for PlayStation to buy your kiddo Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
And it's just that, but instead it's 90 minutes. But instead it's actually 2 hours and 15 minutes.
This movie was over 2 hours?
Yes. Which is already a strike against it.
It felt like 40. I thought the time flew by.
What?
I like the pacing of this movie, I can't lie.
Okay.
Oh, I would also like to note I made an error in a previous episode that actually ties into Gran Turismo.
Well, you said it was good.
No. There's an actor that we talked about before. His name is pronounced Jaimin Hansu. I pronounced it Jiman. I said confidently in a previous episode, yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's Jiman. No, it's pronounced Jaimin.
Is this the dad?
Is the dad.
Okay.
Yeah. Who's fucking great in everything he's in. I love him.
It's about a boy who plays Forza instead of or Gran Turismo instead of going to school.
Yeah.
And then they have a contest, and they're like, #1 video game racer we put in a race car for real.
The real life guy was a stunt driver in this movie, his own stunt driver.
Yeah.
Which
did he actually win a contest and race?
He's from what I understand, like he's won a few small time things, but he still competes. At least when this movie came out a couple of years ago, it was at least during like the post credit or the mid credit roll when it's like, where are they now, the real life people? It did say, he's still racing and
But he started racing because
of this tournament. He didn't actually race for real. This tournament got him to be a professional racer, which is all he wanted, and he's still doing it.
Okay.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Sure. I
live life to
let
the
your
fullest.
dreams be ads. I couldn't see anything else except for a Christmas ad.
You couldn't engage with any of
the acting was like, It's like, yeah, this does feel like something that would play while I'm waiting for my Amazon stream to start.
The thing that I couldn't get past. I mean, obviously they want as much ad placement as would make sense in the world. So there's also a lot of talk from like Nissan, who was like co-sponsoring all of this. But I couldn't get over Orlando Bloom. He kept just saying like Nissan, like he just kept saying it like in his accent in a way that I would not say it.
Speaking of advertising, the movie opens with like slam the hood of a car that says something, Puma gloves, Nissan, PlayStation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's tons of ad placement all over this movie.
And it's like, oh, this isn't a real movie. Like Neil Blomkamp needed to fund Chappie 2 or whatever, District 10.
District 10.
And so he said yes. The other two just said yes because it's a payday, I'm guessing. And Sony wanted some legitimate names for this.
Mm-hmm.
But like the main character's performance is flat, and it's just...
I liked him.
I like cars.
When he was in the hero at the lowest point moment of the movie, because really, like, it's hard to go beat by beat for this film because we already summed it up. It was he plays a game. The game company holds tournament, and through trials and tribulations, he wins the tournament and becomes a real racer. And
except that's my issue with the movie, is that what you just described is like an hour, but there's no actual tension because every time it's time to do something, right? Like the contest to win the game, right?
Yeah.
We're told he's a good racer, and so it's like, okay, he plays the video game, sure. When it's time to do the contest, he sits down, he goes, I'm losing, and then he cranks the wheel, and then they go, you win, you're in, and then he goes into the contest to like find out who's the best video game player. He's made the qualifiers. Now we're gonna cut down to best video gamer and
get them actually behind the wheel of a car.
There's like 20 people or 10 people, and we're just seeing them drop out one by one, but we're not learning their names. We're just clicking them out of there. And then we don't see a full race. We don't see anything. He just goes, oh, I'm not doing good. And then he goes, I'm doing good. And then eventually they're like, yeah, he won it. So he's in. Like, there's no stakes. There's no drama.
This is the Moneyball of car sims. Because I found it way more fascinating when Orlando Bloom and David Harbour's characters were talking about logistics. Mm-hmm. Because again, they're great actors, so they can deliver anything, really well. But like when the kid won, there's one guy who was like great in front of a camera, and he was doing really well, and looks like he was gonna win it all. And they're like, oh, this is our cool poster child to sell cars and to sell games. But then when this kid won that is like not good in front of the camera, he's kind of, nervous and stuff. It was a really close race. And so they were looking at the footage and everybody's waiting for the call about who won. David Harbour was not, he didn't care about the logistics. He didn't care about, he's just like, whoever wins.
Yeah.
I think all of them are fucking nerds playing video games. I don't think any of them can actually race. But if you want my honest opinion as a former racer, the person who comes in first should win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'll train whoever comes in first. And Orlando Bloom's like, is this really what we want? Do we want this meek kid, from the middle of nowhere? And David Harbour's like, yes. Believe it or not, like I'm sticking to my guns that whoever comes in first place wins.
Yeah, that is true. That one moment where they get in each other's face, where Orlando's like, we got to think of the sponsors. And David's refusing. Like, it's all about the integrity of just the race. That suddenly the movie's a movie because that's drama. And so if the movie was about them and the main character wasn't a feature, it was just like the logistics of getting some dork in a real car.
If
then it would be the Moneyball.
If say like David Harbour was the main character and he was fighting the sponsors and stuff, and Orlando Bloom was the mouthpiece for all of these money people.
Yeah,
maybe. But the second half of the movie, after he becomes a racer, he's not doing too well. He needs to come in at least fourth in one of these like smaller races, and you'll get like an official racing license to go pro.
And there's a couple cool freeze frame effects that they're doing where like instead of showing a race, poof, it will just like cross the line and will flash on the screen what place he finished, where it's like 20th, 17th or whatever.
Like he's getting better, but he's not coming in fourth like he needs to.
However, they do that a ton, but because they're skipping every bit of progression, we're skipping every race, we're skipping every training like if everything's a montage.
They turned the montages into one montage.
So then there's just like literally nothing happening. Like we're just being told, and this happened, and then that happened. He won a race. He lost a race. He won the contest. He didn't do good though. And like it's just like the flashes you would see in an advertisement implying a story rather than telling one.
Yeah, I guess.
And then a little bit of sports washing because, it's a good advertisement. So we got to go to Dubai. We got to do a big racetrack and the SAE or whatever, UAE.
So he is not doing great in these real races, and all the professional racers are like, you'll never make it. You are just a gamer.
Yeah.
Gamer parenthesis derogatory.
You'll never be a true racist like us.
We're racist all over the world.
You're fighting true British racists, you young black boy. You've got no shot.
He's not just black, he's mixed.
Oh my God. He fits in nowhere.
So he ends up racing in Germany in this, they call it the Hell Highway.
Is this the accident?
Yeah.
So he qualifies, though, real quick. He gets fourth.
Is that?
That's before this. Because to get on this highway, he has to qualify.
Okay, no, fuck me then, yeah.
Another story beat implied.
Yeah, I watched this movie a couple weeks ago. It's been a minute.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, so sure, he qualifies, and then this is his first real race in Germany, and they tell him, take it easy on this like hilly portion of the track, or you'll go flying. Mm-hmm. And he goes flying, and this is genuinely a moment where I believe it's like, oh, this guy's like an actor. He's taking the scene from bigger names. He crashes and takes a couple bystanders out. He survives.
Just one. They say only one dies. Multiple injuries, one death.
Okay. One death. But he's in the hospital bed, and, everybody get the fuck out, that kind of thing. Like he needs to be alone. He needs to process. Because everybody's in his face telling him, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. like after they told him be careful here or it will be your fault. Everybody's trying to calm him down, but genuinely I was taken aback at how emotionally impactful this movie got at the hour 45 mark.
Interesting, because right after this he texts his girlfriend on Instagram, or no, he texts his mother. He gets a girlfriend on Instagram that just feels like more ad placement. There's a girl he's into. Do you even remember her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's her name? What's his name?
What's any of their names?
Orlando Bloom.
Honestly,
that's Will. Will Turner.
Will Turner. Named for your father.
Where's Bootstrap Bill? He's driving a car 190 miles an hour at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, man. I love the Pirates movies.
Me too. We should have watched those.
Me too, little buddy.
He FaceTimes his mom after killing a bystander. And she's just like, it's the least impactful delivery, because she's just like, hand on her head. She's like, listen, honey, nobody blames you. You're doing okay. Like he did a party foul or was in a bad breakup or something, where she's like, you'll get through it, buddy. And he's like,
I took a life.
Someone's dead. She's like, I gotta go. Your dad's getting home from work. Beep. Like, what? You're not gonna drive out to see your son? I don't know.
Well, they did ask him. She asked multiple times. It's like, you gotta let us come see you. You gotta. And,
okay.
and he was turning people away.
Okay.
The mom did call multiple times. There were multiple instances where he wasn't picking up people were calling him and he was ignoring. He wasn't responding to texts and stuff.
All right. Never mind. Gran Turismo's ironclad plot.
No, but after he gets out of the hospital, David Harbour takes him, I think, back to the same track.
Yeah.
To the point where he crashed, like takes him back out there, and he's like, man, I don't want to see this. I don't want to be here. And David Harbour's like, I did the same fucking thing. Like, this is why I told you to be careful. I crashed at the same spot you did.
No, he crashed at the Le Mans, which is where they're going to race at the end of the movie.
Okay, my bad. No, it was a friend of his, somebody that he knew crashed a car, which is why he never got back behind the wheel of one.
He killed him in the Le Mans.
Okay.
In the Le Mans, he crashes, takes out another driver.
That's it.
Which to him is enough to retire. If you take out a pedestrian, it's not your fault. You take out a driver, it's one of his own, and so now you have to retire.
I respected this one.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
You know what it makes me think of? Ferrari. The one scene where Adam Driver locks the fuck in Ferrari, and he's like talking, two objects cannot occupy the same space. And if you hit the brake, the other dude wins, because when you hit the brake, he thought to himself, fuck it, we both die.
I was thinking of the crash in Ferrari.
Oh, where they just wipe out like 6 children. That movie fucking rule. That movie's like 20 minutes too long as well.
Yeah.
Maybe even too long. But there's there's 40 minutes of that movie that's gold.
You gotta pick out more Michael Mann for us to watch on this podcast.
We can watch. I mean, you got me a 4K of Collateral.
We gotta find some other damage. You gotta find another form of damage, because we have collateral damage.
Okay. I'll get back to you on that, or we'll just man it up. Man on man action.
Here at KAFM, we never beat the allegations. We have a new series called Man on Man,
where I pick a Michael Mann movie, and then regardless of what you pick, I pick a second Michael Mann movie.
Oh, man.
So anyway, David Harbour says, overcome your demons, pedestrians don't matter that much. And the little kid's like, fair point. And he drives the car, and then they're like, all right, time for a race. It's the Le Mans, which is apparently a 24-hour race where the drivers hand off to each other. They
get a whole roster of like the 2 or 3 other runner-ups in the Turismo tournament from PlayStation. They get the other people who were really good but didn't quite qualify. Like the dude who came in second that Orlando Bloom wanted to win was there, and so it's still, the integrity of this is a team of racers. And even like after so many races of like he's no longer like a virgin to the craft. He's driven a car now. Yeah. His fucking pit boss like is still leaning into the window like, fucking gamer boy, what are you doing here? You're not a real racer. And he's like, all right, bud.
Maybe not a virgin of the craft, but a virgin in the sheets. Spits in his face.
Your Instagram girlfriend's not real. Those are AI generated.
I checked your likes. Too many e-thoughts in there.
Nobody respects a boy who doesn't have his likes privated. Everybody can see that shit. Sir, I don't know you. You're not even my pit bull. How'd you get here?
I run this race. Every F1 race has one American genuine NASCAR fan. Raise hell, praise Dale. That's the thing. This movie has made me want to check out Ford versus Ferrari and things like that.
Yeah.
Like some, because I've seen Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise.
Okay.
That fucking race movie goes hard. You know who else is in that?
Who?
Young Michael Rooker, Robert Duvall.
Young Michael Rooker. I thought he was born looking like that.
He was. He's just. I'm aware of time. Randy Quaid before he goes insane.
Questionable. All right.
But well, outwardly, and he's a good performance.
Yeah, Randy.
He's actually a nuanced character.
Randy Quaid was such a great actor.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, you watch it because Days of Thunder, he's adversarial to Tom Cruise, but at the same time understands where he's coming from. So, like, kind of supports him on the back end, despite being like almost an antagonist. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he's just actually acting his heart out in this fucking. The movie was clearly trying to do basically be Top Gun for NASCAR.
Gotcha.
And it's awesome. So we're gonna watch that and probably some bullshit.
Can we watch Speed Racer?
Sure.
Because that's a racing movie.
All right, we're gonna do a whole run of racing movies. If nothing else, Gran Turismo has wanted me to see better racing movies. All right, he wins the Le Mans.
I want to watch more video game adaptations. Uncharted. They're making a sequel.
I forgot they made one. I haven't played any Uncharted. It fucks me up though because I do understand. Mark Wahlberg looks exactly like Nathan Drake.
Yes, and they could have casted him as Nathan.
He's in the movie as someone else.
As Sully without a mustache.
I don't know who that is. Like, I've never played Uncharted. I just know that I see him and then they're like, let's go, Nathan Drake. And then they turn and Tom Holland's there. And I'm like, that's Spider-Man.
Yeah. So everybody was pissed because it was like the first one apparently is not the plot of any of the games, but it set up the first game. So it's like a prequel to the first game. So the sequel is actually going to be the plot of the first game. So everybody's just pissed.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. I'm not mad about it because we're talking about, just Hellboy. Guillermo del Toro did what he wanted with the property and made fucking great movies. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with people taking liberties. Like, this was not the plot to a Gran Turismo movie. This was something that happened. They were like, we could sell this.
They decided, they spent money. They had real cars. They had a helicopter. Neil Blomkamp was spending the budget. He's a decent director, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he's a very good director.
so like when those cars are revving and like and all that increase in speed, I'm like I'm enjoying it just because adrenaline rush.
It's a popcorn movie.
But I wish it was a real thing.
It's a popcorn advertisement.
We're gonna watch. I've got to watch some actual racing movies.
Is that all we have to say about Gran Turismo?
I mean, there's not a lot to dissect or anything. I watched it. I said this isn't very good. Neil Blomkamp, we got to study your fucking fall off, man.
I just wish, like, I get why this became a movie.
Yeah.
Because PlayStation is pushing all of their properties to get adaptations. Last of Us did really well. They're going to be doing a God of War show on Prime, which I'm really excited for. I think the Horizon Zero Dawn show got canceled.
It did.
Damn.
I haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, but I saw on Twitter they're like, it's done.
Damn. That's too bad. Like, that's an interesting world. And so, like,
I think the showrunner harassed people.
Never mind then. Fuck that.
Well, like, and the show wasn't really getting off the ground anyway, and so they were like, it's just done. And Netflix is like, listen, our favorite thing is to not make stuff. We love canceling shit.
We love making one season that people love and then nothing else and then 8 seasons of Big Mouth.
Give us an inch and we'll take a big mouth.
But yeah, I'll probably watch the next adaptation of whatever Sony makes.
And we'll probably talk about it on here.
Yeah.
And we'll find maybe that's what we'll do, Sony movies and racist movies. So stay tuned for God of War and The Birth of a Nation.
That's going to be a TV show, so.
Okay, so we'll need a racist TV show. God of War and Cops.
If we dip into TV shows, it's over.
I don't even watch enough for us to do that. What I did watch enough of was Gran Torino.
I watched enough of it as well.
Starring Clint Eastwood,
This was one that like everybody that I knew that was a Clint Eastwood fan would gas up this movie.
This movie's terrible.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
It's closer to a comedy.
Yeah.
It wants to be a drama, but I'm watching this movie and I'm laughing.
You're probably laughing for different reasons than I was laughing, but
I'm not laughing with the movie, if that's what you're implying.
Okay.
I'm just laughing at like the message of the movie. Because it stars Clint Eastwood as an old racist.
Yes.
Who's old enough to have been retired. Never 100% clear. I think he did construction. I don't know. But he seemed to have retired from his racism job to be racist in his free time. And he lives in Detroit?
I don't know.
I think so. Because they ask him if he has like season tickets to the Lions and stuff. So I think it's supposed to be Detroit.
I thought it might have been Detroit because I thought there was a moment where they mentioned that he worked in automotion. Like he worked at a factory.
He did. He built the Gran Torino.
Yeah, and then they outmoded his job and
So he's in Detroit. That's rapidly. It's not gentrifying because it's not becoming nicer.
no.
It's just changing. And so now non-whites live near him, and that's a big problem for him.
He makes a comment that like he's the only white person left on his block or something, and that's a problem. And any slur he could get away with, it's a drinking game. Drink every time he says a new slur.
Yeah, and his main issue is with the family that's moved in next door, which is a large Vietnamese family. They're Hmong, but I think it's Vietnam because she says when she's talking to the daughter, it's Vietnam.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. But anyway, this is a movie about how he has a nice car and he needs to learn to be not racist. But that's not actually at all what it's about. It's about how everyone needs to learn to find his racism pretty funny.
Yeah, it's not a movie. Yeah, it does kind of play itself as like, this old man is going to come around to like, no, it's everybody kind of being like, he's just like that.
Yeah. Like you need to listen, old people are racist and you need to love them because of it, not despite it.
You need to sack up.
I mean, we open on a funeral. Racist Eastwood's wife has passed away and it's so clear he's staring at a world that's moved on from him.
Yes.
Because some people are dressed up, but it's like not the classic wedding. The priest is 40, 60 years younger than him.
You mean not the classic funeral?
Funeral. The priest is so much younger than him, like everything. And then his two sons are there and their grandkids, or their kids, his grandkids. And these kids are the problem. This is the one part I agree with the movie. They show up to their grandmother's funeral. One of them in a Detroit Lions jersey. One of them in like a mini skirt and like a tank top with her midriff showing. I'm not a Puritan. I'm not like, oh heavens, a woman showed a belly button. It's the funeral of your grandmother. Put on like full dress, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean a dress. I mean like full dress wear, whatever you're doing. No jersey, no midriff. Have you been to a funeral?
Yes.
Did you wear a fucking jersey? Did you wear a football jersey?
Last funeral I was at, I wore all black. Black tie, black shirt, black coat, black pants, black socks, black shoes. I wore all black.
A suit jacket.
Yeah.
Did you wear a tie?
Yes, all black.
Okay. Last funeral I was at, I didn't wear a tie, but suit jacket, button-up shirt, stuff like that. Like, it's not about like, oh, Clint Eastwood's stuck up or anything. This is showing some respect to your fucking grandma.
Yeah, no, the kids were framed as like, oh, this is an inconvenience to my day. Grandma's funeral is just going to be a part of my day. After this, I'm going to the Lions game.
And it's clearly that they're supposed to be, like, you're supposed to be on Eastwood's side a little bit. But I'm shocked at how comically offensive this is.
Yes.
If you showed up to my grandmother's funeral in a Lions jersey, actually there was someone who showed up to my grandmother's funeral with a baseball hat on, like a NASA baseball hat on, and I was a little bit pissed.
Yeah, no, I would be too.
Because one of the other dudes who was what is it called when you lift the coffin, pallbearer?
Yeah, pallbearer.
So I was one, and then my brother was one, and or my cousin and stuff. One guy who just knew my grandmother was around our age, and she had helped him out and stuff. He has a bunch of face piercings and stuff. He took them all out just because he knew she would appreciate that. I'm like, that's a sign of respect.
Yeah.
That dude's awesome. This fucking football jersey. I was so I was ready actually to side with Eastwood in this movie. And then the dads, his sons, are like, "Can you believe he's scowling at our children?"
Yes.
His wife died.
He's kind of not in the mood.
You fucking disrespectful pieces of shit. So I just want to get that off my chest because I couldn't believe how comically offensive these kids were.
Yeah, I also agree with that. Where like at the beginning, it's, you know, almost Clint Eastwood POV of looking around the funeral, and it's like, okay, yeah, disrespectful, and then like your kids are talking about you, you know, it's like, okay, I see. And then like it's back at his place, and you know, nobody cares, and everybody's kind of like, oh, we're sorry for your loss, but really it feels more like just a family gathering, you know. It's There's no amount of respect to actually why they're all gathered. And again, like I can understand, it's like, okay, yeah, you feel invisible right now to all these people. That sucks. But it was when he started laying into the fucking priest where I was like, okay, maybe this movie isn't, because it's just like, because the priest said, you know, I really got to know your wife before she passed away, spent a lot of time with her, and she asked that I look after you after she's gone. And, you know, he's really trying to be like earnest, try to be there for Clint, and Clint's not giving him anything. He's like, what do you think about this, sir? I can't remember the character's name. He's like, what do you think about this, sir? And Clint Eastwood's like, I think you're a 20-something virgin straight out of seminary that promises little old ladies heaven. He's like, I was never a religious person. Get out of my house.
So I'm actually still on Eastwood's side at this point in the movie. This priest was pissing me the fuck off. If you show up and you go, I got close with your wife, she promised me. It's like, okay, well, you shouldn't make promises like that. But like, your promise includes me after she's dead? Fuck you. And also, like, you are in my house consistently asking me questions. She just died. You can wait a week before you ask me this shit.
That's fair. Over the course of the movie, he was really starting to get grating, but like in the moment, the first time where he's just like, you know, I promised your wife I would talk to you, like keep an eye on you. I'm like, it's like, okay, yeah, he's just doing.
If a priest said that to me, I'd say, hit the road, take a hike, Buster. But here's some alms for the poor.
The fact that he kept consistently showing up over the movie, that really was.
Because Clint Eastwood was dead ass at that. If a priest ever tells me what to do, ooh, buddy, I'm angry.
Shinzo Abe time.
Exactly. But then Clint Eastwood steps outside, and I'm with him, right? I'm like, your family are assholes. This priest is annoying.
Go get some fresh air.
I'm at least with you for the ride. There's Eastwood Western, so I just kind of like him as an actor.
Yeah, he's not a bad actor.
And then he turns and he just sees an Asian woman and he's just like, rah, 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 slur, rah, 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 slur, spits on the ground and goes back inside. And I'm like, oh ho!
Oh no.
This movie's taking a turn.
So I couldn't help. This movie came out decades before A Man Called Otto, which is
This movie came out like 2012.
Really?
It's like
okay.
10 years.
So this came out a decade before A Man Called Otto, which is a Tom Hanks movie.
I have not seen.
And I have, as per our regulatory system.
My regular Hanks check-in, still ain't seen shit.
You haven't seen it? I have. Again, I really like Tom Hanks, but this almost follows the same plot, except Tom Hanks is not racist or an asshole. He just wants to be left alone. So when it's all of his neighbors trying to be like, oh, you know, we're here for you, because again, it opens with his wife's died, he's basically forced into retirement, and he has this moment where he's just like, well, you made the guy I trained my boss and then started cutting back my hours, of course I gotta retire, fuck you, and then leaves. So when it's everybody like kind of dogging him, you know, it's like, oh, we're here for you, Otto, what can we do for you? I was more on, you know, Tom Hanks' side. I was just like, no, I want to be left alone and try and kill myself. Tom Hanks tries to kill himself like 4 times in that movie.
Interesting.
It's honestly, like, again, I really enjoyed it. So when I was watching, I'm like, this is just A Man Called Otto, but racist. That's all I could think of.
A Man Called Racist.
Yeah, it's just A Man Called Racist.
Me, by me, and you.
No.
And so I knew that this was about him overcoming prejudice, or I thought that's what this movie was about.
So did I. I thought this was entirely going to be that, but he doesn't.
And I was shocked at how I thought his prejudice would be like undercover, like it comes out. Instead, it's literally just him walking outside and going, "Goddamn Asians, goddamn Mexicans, goddamn black people." Just like every time he sees another race, he's angry, but also he's kind of proven right by the script.
Yes, there's multiple, and it's always people like not even really around his age. Maybe like there's a 10-year even, because he's like what 60 something. So if we say like even like people that are like mid 40s are just as racist. His barber just as racist as he is. The guy that runs the construction site. And again, it's like, oh, he's a fucking Irishman. This Mick.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. The movie tries to, like, he gets called Polish slurs. The movie, he calls his barber Italian slurs. And they're like, oh, you know, like, he ribs everybody. But there's a distinct difference between ribbing other white people and then turning around and, like, the movie writes a scene where the only black characters in the movie are, like, young 20-something-year-old sexually aggressive gangsters that he has to prove are pussies because he pulls a gun on them and he's like, I gotta save a woman. And like, this movie exists so that racist dads or just like that can just nod while they watch the movie and then turn to you and go, "That's how they are." And then you're like, "What did you just say?" And then he just keeps watching the movie. Like, that's who it's for. That's the audience. You know how they act. And then just like,
who's they?
And he's like, and he's already like back asleep.
So that scene where it's, you know, the girl being harassed by the gangsters, the boyfriend in that scene that Clint Eastwood's like, "Fuck off, you pussy." That's Clint Eastwood's son.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Clint Eastwood shows up to save his son's girlfriend, be like, "You're a fucking pussy. Go home, little white boy."
"Dad, can I have a role in your movie?" "Yes." "Why does my role say white pussy?"
Little pussy boy.
"Sorry, that was my grocery list."
Jesus. God, what a bad movie.
So he just goes scene to scene, and the neighboring Vietnamese family has kind of two main people that interact with Clint. There's the daughter and the son.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter is outgoing, and she's like when she's getting catcalled, she kind of yells back at people, which gets her in more trouble, so Clint Eastwood needs to save her. And the son is really reserved and just does what he's told. And so Clint Eastwood he bonds with the girl because she'll like explain things to him and brush off his racism. She'll be like, "We're Hmong," and he's like, "Hmong," and then she's like, "Hmong," and he's like, "Oh, okay." And it seems like he's trying to make an effort to like pronounce what she's saying. And so I'm like, okay, he's going to learn to not be racist. But then he learns a woman's name that I don't remember. It's something like Yun or something like that. And he calls her Yum Yum over and over and refuses to learn her real name.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, no, like I thought the point of the learning how to pronounce Hmong scene was like, oh, he's going to learn new things. And instead he just looks at like egg rolls and I can't even say the words he says, but he's like, "Let's get some of this good blank food." And he has 3 different words he uses for that he uses in that household. And the daughter's just like, "Oh, you."
Yeah. And so she's explaining like the Hmong, like kind of their social etiquette, and one of them is like, don't make eye contact.
Yeah.
Like it's just a respect thing, you know, don't make eye contact. And he's making eye contact with everybody in the house, and like don't like touch people on their head. There's something about like the soul, like there's like a reasoning behind all this. And he like tussles this kid's hair like, "Hey, you little slur." He's like, "How are you today?" And everybody, not about the slur, but the fact that he touched this kid's head is like, what the, like completely silent, like, what the fuck, what is? And she had to be like, "Oh no, he doesn't understand." And she explains this like, "You fucked up for this reason, you fucked up for this reason." And he's just like, "All of your people suck."
This is a weird, dumb culture. And so then he's doing that with the daughter, and for some reason this is supposed to be like them learning to bond, even though it's only her reaching. Like if it was true bonding or truly like, it would be you both. Like he tries to say less words, she understands that he's from a different time, and they meet in the middle, and so he's more accepting and she's able to like connect with him in a way. But it's entirely 99% her reaching across the aisle and him going, I'll let 2 Vietnamese through.
Him breaking racial boundaries, him learning not to be racist, is just him repeatedly being like, you're one of the good ones.
Exactly.
Over and over again.
Like, yeah, that's not actually overcoming prejudice.
Well, no, I'm sorry. He does also enjoy their cooking because
they make good blank, can't say the word, food, and if it's the word you're thinking of, there's 2 other words. There's 3 different good blank food that because this Vietnamese family makes.
Yeah, so the son does whatever he's told and is told, go steal that old man's car because that old man's got a really nice car.
Because he has a gangster cousin.
Yeah.
Who basically is trying to like toughen him up.
Yeah. And so he sneaks into Clint Eastwood's garage. Clint Eastwood hears him because he's a scared kid, doesn't know what he's doing, grabs a gun, is going to kill this kid, and doesn't because he's old and falls down, I think. And
he like considers not shooting him. And you find out why he has that consideration by the end of the movie.
Yeah. But so he, over the course of the movie, it's like, oh, you know, he's just a kid who, I think that like the dad's not in the picture. I don't remember why.
She says he was a really hardcore dad and eventually left. I can't remember. He may have died, but
yeah. But it's like, okay, so this poor boy, you know, regardless of racial prejudice, you know, Clint Eastwood is like, a boy needs a father figure. Mm-hmm. So he has the boy, you know, pay him back for trying to steal his car by like doing yard work and then doing work for the neighborhood, you know, toughening him up in a different way than commit crime. Yeah. It's like, you're going to do honest work, which again, like is,
I think the dad beat them, I think is what she said. She said he's like old school and he's like, I'm old school too. And she's like, in a different way.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think like all of his male role models were either beating him or like commit crime.
Using him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but for basically rescuing the son from his criminal cousin, the family comes over a lot with food. And the first time, you know, Clint is, you know, really slur, I don't want any, and then goes to have dinner with the big family and stuff. And then the next day they come back with more food. And he's like, I told you I don't. Actually, is that some of that chicken shit? All right, bring it in. Yeah. Is that some of that?
Slur. Come on in. Yeah. That's like, him pointing out the people's names. He's like, slur. Let's roll.
Oh, it's all of the onomatopoeia name, or like the double sound name racial stereotypes.
I'm not joking. There's a girl he's introduced to. She says her name. He says he likes her. And he calls her Yum Yum. And someone goes, oh, her name's this. He goes, yeah, Yum Yum. And then later in scenes, she doesn't appear in the movie again. He still refers to Yum Yum.
What about that Yum Yum girl? Because it's like a girl that like the son character is like kind of into. And it's just like, oh, but I'm a meek little boy. I can't make a move on a girl.
Uh-huh. And he's like, you got to go lay pipe into Yum Yum.
Yeah, but he points to, there's a scene in a basement where it's all of like the kids hanging out. And then they eventually clear out, and it's just Clint Eastwood and the kid in there, and he's just like, "You're a fucking idiot, you know. You just blew your chance to talk to this girl." He points to the couch where like 3 girls were just sitting, and lists 3 racially insensitive names, but they're all like Chi-Chi, like things like that. It's just like so and so, and Yum Yum. It's like, oh. And it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back with you.
That scene is so weird to me too, because it's when he's at that party with the family and he's eating the food and he's having a good time and he's kind of with the grandmas. And so like they're all around his age. And then the daughter's like, you got to meet everyone else. And I thought she was going to introduce him to the family. And instead she takes him to the basement where like the 20-year-olds are drinking.
Yeah.
And it's like a row of 20-year-olds and Clint Eastwood. And they're like, hey, dude. And then they just go back to, and they're like, he's weird. It's like, he's weird because he's 4 times your age.
Yeah, what's this old white guy doing here?
What? And he like fixes a dryer and they're like, what? And then they leave. But I have no, like, why did she bring him down there? Imagine if imagine the reverse of that situation. We're at a party and I'm like, yo, you got to meet everyone else. And I bring you into the basement and it's just a retirement home. I'm like, look at these and then I sit down like we're going to chill there. You'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
What are all of these old people doing in your basement?
Like, I don't hate old people, but why am I hanging out? Like, John, do you hang out with 80-year-olds? What are you doing?
I would legitimately question. Yeah, like I would be so confused because to start with, there's like nothing in your, because like at least she was like inviting him to hang out with people her age.
Yeah.
But like if you invited me to hang out with a bunch of old people, I'd be like, it's like, why are you here? I understand that like I'm here because you invited me and that's weird, but why are you here?
That's awesome. And then imagine I say that and then I just turn and I call each one of them a different slur. And I'm like, this is how we bond.
God, yeah, so everybody is a slur. That's the moral of the story.
Name of this episode.
I'm gonna be real. The way I was watching this movie, the sound cut out during that basement scene, so I watched the rest of this movie with just subtitles, no sound.
The whole movie?
The rest of the movie. I was just like, I don't care enough. I'm not having a good time. So Clint Eastwood could come after me for my $3 if he wants it, but I wasn't gonna rent.
I have Max, so I watch this on Max.
You gotta give me your Max so I can.
Okay. Yeah, so you can watch Gran Torino.
I gotta know how it sounds during his confessional.
Yeah. It's really weird delivery.
Is it?
It is really weird.
Again, I don't.
It's just
know.
like really flat. Like the whole, because early on the priest says to him, "Your wife said to do confession like one last time."
Yeah, because you haven't done it ever, basically.
Yeah, and they're Catholic, and confession's a whole thing when you're Catholic.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing when you're other things too. But
it's a whole thing when you're other things. Learning to love, like that's bonding for different walks of life. It's a lot of things when you're other things.
So he's learning to be less racist-ish, a very little amount, in the sense that he's tolerating Vietnamese people near him and eating their food and then fixing the gutters for them and stuff. But he is bonding with this young Vietnamese boy in a way he's not connected to his sons or his grandkids, who are all unlikable jackasses.
Yeah.
One of them shows up on his birthday with a cake, and he seems almost like happy, like he's trying to hide it. But he's like, oh yeah,
my son remembered my birthday.
But then they've just got pamphlets for retirement homes and like shit that just makes you like a phone with buttons the size of like refrigerator magnets, so you can see them.
It's a phone. I can see that.
And it's just like shit that makes him feel old, and he realizes they just want the house.
And then you see like the other son later because he calls him up, and that's like a big, beautiful home that guy lives in.
Yeah, no, they want the house to like sell it. They just want to refurb it and sell it. Is the implication.
Shit. Okay. Gross.
Like they're just looking to rent a property.
Ew. Okay.
And that's their childhood home. They're like, oh, we could turn this into more money. Is like the implication I was getting.
We could verbo our memories.
And so, his piece of shit family are comically pieces of shit. He goes to his barber to teach the boy how to talk like a man, which is just like insulting people.
Yeah. Because like Clint Eastwood enters the barbershop and he's just like, hey, Italian slur to his fucking barber. And the barber says, hey, Polish slur. You can say it.
Polak, you can say it too. We're not a protected class. We're not endangered no more.
That's not one of my words. I can say Mick. That one's fine. Honestly, I think I've talked about it before. I love white people slurs because they're not real.
They made a show called The Mick, so I think anyone can say it.
Well, I mean, like, just even the generalized one, like honky and cracker are so funny to me. I don't know where honky comes from.
I don't know.
It's just so not real. So I don't think anybody's allowed to be mad.
Should we do our next podcast introducing? Oh, to KFM, I'm honky and he's cracker.
Yeah. Oh,
Which one do you want to be? You want to be honky? I'll be cracker.
Promise?
Yeah. So Clint Eastwood has finally found one Vietnamese he can't slur about, but he still does. And then there's scenes with like, I mean, just every scene is just he's going to be racist in some way, but his heart will soften a little bit, but not in any way that matters.
His heart softens enough to where he says, "Hey, slur, have my car." That's what happens. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. Why are you laughing?
It's exactly how the movie ends. It's just ridiculous. And it's supposed to be so heartfelt. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? His last words on planet Earth, he still couldn't use my goddamn name.
Oh no, this movie actually
So the gangsters want the son to get harder, and he's basically not gonna. Clint gets him a construction job. Gangsters want him to be a gangster. They beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, so they shoot up the Vietnamese house next to Clint's.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat the shit out of Yum Yum.
No, that wasn't Yum. That's the sister. They beat up the son and they raped the daughter.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Again, I was watching with subtitles.
Yeah.
I thought that, but there was a moment was like, call her house, like, what about her? What's going on?
Yeah. They're looking for the daughter because she was out at night.
Oh, okay.
And then, so Clint decides, I'm going to go. The son wants revenge. Clint makes him think they're going to go kill the gangsters, but instead locks him in his house.
Yeah.
And then goes to kill the gangsters himself, you think?
Honestly, I do kind of like this ending.
Because he's done this thing where he reached for a gun before.
Yeah.
And this time he reaches for instead a lighter, and they flinch and they kill Clint.
In front of the whole neighborhood, they just unload on this old man reaching for a lighter. So now the cops finally have like solid criminal activity on all these guys. They're able to make proper arrests, and
so they all go to jail, and he leaves a will where he gives the Gran Torino, the car, to the boy. And he says, as long as you don't turn it into things like, and he has a Mexican slur, he has another the Asian slur, he has like...
The attorney reading the will is like, I apologize in advance, I'm just reading verbatim, which is my job.
Funny, but if it wasn't so like embarrassing that this movie thinks this is a good character.
No, it's really not.
I'm sort of out of steam. Because I can't believe I heard good things about this movie. I don't know who's telling you this movie's good.
People over 50.
Slur, where's my car?
Yeah. Oh, man. Any closing thoughts between gamer to racist?
I liked Torino more because it felt like a real movie, even though it was misguided and horrible.
I liked Gran Turismo more because I think I mentioned this before too, where I'll watch the bad video game adaptations if it means the good ones will also come along. Like for every good one, there's a bad one and stuff. This kind of lands somewhere in the middle for me, but like, if me watching this movie, however much Netflix gives them per watch or whatever, like whatever pennies, it's like, I'll do my part if it means we get some other good one at some point.
And I'll watch anything racist. Cut the feed.